look out! Pop, pop, it's showtime. Showtime.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Pay It Forward. Today, we're going to talk about how to write a solid personal statement. This is the second part, and we are three people providing 3 points of view, and all of us got accepted. My name is Sameh Solomon. I'm a second-year dental student at ATSU ASDO, Arizona School of Dentistry and Oral Health. I run my channel on YouTube and Instagram called Dental Life. I was the ASDO ASDA pre-dental director. I was also an ATSU student ambassador for the interview days, and I was the former president of MESA, the Middle Eastern Student Association. My undergrad major was neuroscience at UCR, and I was a dental assistant for 8 years.
So my name is Fernanda. I'm from UCLA. I'm a D2. I'm very involved extracurricularly. I'm my class secretary. I used to be the ASDA ethics chair. Now I'm the ASDA preclinical enrichment chair. I'm also the clinical translator program director of my school. I study applied biological science at ASU. And here you can see some of the activities that I did during my gap year.
Hi everyone, my name is Naveen and I am an incoming D1 at Western University Sciences, and I went to San Diego State University. I majored in biology and leadership development. During my time there, I was heavily involved with Flying Samaritan at University of California, San Diego for dental clinics. And then from there, I continued my involvement after I graduated. During my gap years, I worked in the biotechnology field as a quality assurance specialist, as well as a dental clinic.
So as a disclaimer, whatever information we provide is from our own personal experiences. This is only a guide and not a guarantee that you'll get into dental school. All right, so let's read personal statements.
So when I started my paragraph, one of the mistakes that I made is that I wanted to show how I knew the both systems of healthcare, one in Mexico, one in the United States. The problem with that is that I focus too much on the differences. And so when somebody read it, they're like, okay, now I learned what Mexico and the United States are different, but I didn't learn anything about you. So I changed that. And I still kept it in my first sentence, which is kind of saying my desire to become involved in dentistry grew from experiencing the dental healthcare systems of 2 countries and cultures. So I kept that because it's what I wanted to say. And so as you can see here, I wanted to show without shame where I came from. I came from a rural community. There wasn't too many dentists at the time. I didn't have as many experience with dentistry, and that kind of showed in my oral health. And so my mentor that helped me and my family and my community, he really had a big influence in me. As you can see, I explain it. But I kind of went back to myself, explaining that yes, I continued volunteering with him and shadowing him, but that he saw that I was passionate in the field. And so that way he got me involved in more. He got me involved in the Dental Association of Caborca, which is where I'm from. And so I didn't focus only on him, I came back to myself. Then the second one is a very personal story, and it's from my sister. She suffered from sleep apnea, very little. That's not the case for a lot of people. The problem is that where I'm from, a lot of kids die from these surgeries. Talked with my mentor and the dentist that I knew at the time when I was older and explained what was the problem. So I kind of helped and make the connection. And so that confirmed because my sister got better. But also it shows that my initiative to help her. So that's 2 of the things that I was aiming for in that paragraph. Then my third paragraph is when I finally came to the United States. And so I kind of show what I learned from that culture and apply it. And so I have this story that I explain how I help patients feel better and relax. And the first thing that came out of my mind was in Spanish saying like, I'm gonna be your translator. Voy a ser su traductora. The patient was like, this is the beginning, and then everything got relaxed. And so what I saw is that a lot of times the dentist will talk to her and she will be, I can see in her face like maybe she was confused, and I would try to explain it to her. But I didn't say that specifically here. I kept still the doctor. He was doing his job. I was just helping. And so make sure that you don't criticize the profession itself, especially. Then I also had like a very unique experience where I translated from Spanish to English, and then the wife of the patient spoke Italian, and the patient only spoke Italian. So we went from Italian to Spanish to English. It was a very unique experience. And so don't feel afraid if you have unique experiences that kind of like keep with you to show them. And that I use that to kind of drive by that not only I'm able to be good with like Latino communities, but also other communities. And then the last one is more like when I was volunteering with my mentor and another dentist. They got me really involved in health centers. That really influenced my decisions in dentistry. I really want to go to public health. And so I kind of explained one of the experiences that I had in which we went to a community and we started to distribute toothbrushes. And you will say, well, like, okay, big deal. What hit me when I went to this experience is that when I get the toothbrush, that kid started playing with it because he thought it was a toy. Like I was some kind of Santa Claus. And so I even like used the Santa Claus part into the story. And so that was something that really warmed my heart. And so I included that because it really, really impacted me. And that was, I guess it's another way to say that it solidified my decision. At the end, I kind of put everything back together where I say my experience with two cultures inspire and confirm my desire to become a dentist. So C, inspire and confirm. Make sure that you show that. Make sure that you specifically say it. After restating my main points, then I went ahead and I shared what I'm thinking to do as a dentist. I want to work in a community center, like the ones that I did before. And I want to educate my community and the communities here in the United States. And so at the end, I just close it up with, I'm looking forward to work with this community as a dentist and continue my volunteer activities. The reason I did this is because I had a lot of hours of volunteering. That was a very strong part of my application. I had like 1,800 hours or so of volunteering. And so that's the way I wanted to send that message.
A couple of things. Okay. So you had a very solid personal statement. Like no wonder why you got into dental school. All right. So good job. But like looking back at it, because like I said, you try your best to kind of make sure that your personal statement is perfect. So I'm gonna play the devil's advocate and I'm gonna give you a couple little insights. Because again, I looked over so many personal statements in the past and I kind of like have an idea of what to look at. So I'm gonna point a couple things. So for whoever is watching this, so for you, you said that the beginning, like if you can go back, you would change the beginning because you felt like you were just bouncing back and forth. You were comparing Mexico and the US. So you felt like that was just juggling too much at the introduction. So
I wasn't focusing on myself.
So the beginning wasn't about you. Correct?
It wasn't about me. Yeah. I was trying to show my knowledge, like, hey, I really do know the two communities. And I completely went away from myself. And I was wasting the time. If they want to read about that, they can just go ahead and Google what is the difference between the United States and Mexico healthcare system. Yeah.
So don't give them things that they can easily search. You got to provide them something that's unique to you, hence your personal statement. Another thing is how you talked about your personal experience and with the CDC, and then you talked about your sister Amanda having sleep apnea and how that affected you. And I love how you just mentioned it. And include names, because for me, you can tell me like your mom is so and so. If you are gonna include an individual, whether it's a doctor, a mentor, an influencer, someone that is from your religious community, whoever you include, don't just say the title. Also say the name. Put a face to the name. Like in this case, since they can't see who you're talking about, you put a name to the description or to the job title. And sleep apnea, a lot of people suffer from sleep apnea, and the fact that your sister at a young age suffered from it, my thought process, like sleep apnea, it's most of the time it's normally older people, like maybe 40s that suffer from sleep apnea. So that is something unique to you and it makes you stand out. How's she doing, by the way? Good?
Yeah, she's doing well.
So also like how you included the unique story about Italian, Mexican, Brazilian, all that kind of like, I think it was a little bit unique, but at the same time too much going on. So if I was reading it, I would probably reread that paragraph again just to kind of like, okay, which nationality is she trying to, which language does she speak? You get what I mean? So it might have been a little bit too crowded, but it's definitely a unique experience to have. I think how you closed off your personal statement is strong. The conclusion of your personal statement is basically restating your future plan. If and when, and again, I always say this, if and when you get accepted, what are you going to do with that piece of paper? That should be the purpose of your conclusion. And that should guide you to write a very solid conclusion. Because if everything is strong and then you kind of lose me at the end, I'm like, okay, next personal statement, moving on, kind of thing.
I really liked the personal story, and you didn't continue going on and on about it. So the whole idea of include it as evidence, but not to take over your whole essay, just to support what you're gonna say.
Would you do anything differently?
I think one of the main things, and I think like the Brazilian English Spanish story, to be honest, the first time I wrote it, it was really hard. So that was like the best I was able to come up with. But yeah, I do agree it could have gone better. I would say maybe at the beginning, I kind of like, I liked it and I'm proud of where I come from. And this is one of the things that a lot of people are not sure, like, do I want to make them feel sorry about me or not? And so that's like, I try to minimize as much as I can, but now that I read, I'm like, did I overdid it again? And so, yeah. But it's my story, so I have to own it.
Yep.
Don't feel ashamed about it.
I just remembered one thing. She didn't bring in all different things that she wanted to highlight to the committee. For instance, there's a lot of times where I read tips from other people and they say, make sure, you put in your personal statement why you took a gap year or why you did this. And it's like, no. There's other parts in the application where you can put that in, and your personal statement at the end of the day is a story. So don't just bring in anything and put it in there.
It's not kind of like a recycled pen, wherever you have like extra kind of like blurbs about other things, you just kind of like, okay, it should work the other way around, actually. Your personal statement should be the primary solid document. It should be your constitution.
For instance, the introduction was a quick anecdote, as they say, a personal story. And basically it was talking about what sparked my interest or my curiosity. And that's like a question you have in your beginning introduction that you're gonna spend your personal statement trying to answer, basically. So I'll go ahead and just highlight some points from my personal statement that I think were strong and hit on the points that we mentioned throughout the video. So for instance, I started out my personal statement with a personal story that sparked my curiosity, and that is sort of the question I had in which career I wanted to pursue. Every night, my blank placed ice packs on her jaw to relieve her unbearable pain. As a child, I did not understand why she could not get the care she needed. Luckily, she was able to get care at a free clinic. And then I continue on and say what I experienced in that free clinic. Overall was underserved communities, because that's where I spent most of my time volunteering and even working in dental clinics. And then the schools I applied to were focused on that as well. So make your personal statement fit the type of schools you're applying to as well, but not be stuck to a certain school, just schools in general. And then at the end of that first paragraph, I wrote, from this instance, I sought careers that provided immediate, life-changing care to others while incorporating elements of hands-on work, leadership, and patient education. The reason why there are so many things is because that's what I'm going to be referring to throughout my paragraphs. So this is basically my thesis. Something I liked in my second paragraph was how I talk about an experience I did in undergrad. And then my last sentence, I tell admissions what I learned from it. And I say the name of the organization, Flying Samaritans, added to my cultural competency, team management skills, and geared me towards dentistry. I don't say confirmed or solidified because I'm in the beginning stages of my career search. So this is what we were talking about, using sparked first, and then geared or something like confirmed in the next paragraph. And then towards the end, you should have it solidified because now we're at the end of your personal statement. So my next paragraph, what I liked about it was I definitely showed growth by saying to further explore dentistry, because in my previous paragraph, I was saying it geared me towards dentistry. So now my next paragraph should address, what did I do once now I'm in dentistry? What did I do? And so that I showed that I became an x-ray technician, and I continued volunteering and working in dental clinics to show that you are taking a step to confirm that this is what you would want to go into, or confirm that this is not what you want to go to. So it's showing that I'm taking the necessary steps to kind of figure it out. And then at that last sentence of that paragraph, I do say that this confirmed why I wanted to go into dentistry. So there's that keyword that we're talking about, because right now I'm in the middle of my personal statement. My previous paragraphs could align well with another career, but this next paragraph was specifically about dental and what it was that you liked about it. And I also mentioned that I experienced working in dental clinics in affluent areas and underserved communities. And that sort of shows you the socioeconomic environments, that they're not all the same and the population isn't the same. So you're going to be interacting differently with these patients. Why is this important? Because a lot of dental schools are trying to bring in people who know the difference, so that when you graduate, you're able to serve these patients from an underserved community, while at the same time, you're able to serve those in affluent areas. My next paragraph is about the specifics about dentistry, and I talked about the artistic side of it, such as shaping teeth for veneers and such. Okay, and then my next paragraph, I wanted to highlight that I spoke about my drive for teaching and preventative education. And I do say in my introduction sentence of that paragraph, while my ambition primarily lies in treatment, I am also interested in serving as an educator, because preventative dentistry helps improve health disparities. And then I talk about how education helps. So I say arming patients with the knowledge to maintain good oral hygiene empowers them to take charge of their own health, to prevent systematic diseases and avoidable treatments. So the reason I'm highlighting this sentence is because I'm becoming a dentist where I need to treat primarily, right? But at the same time, I do love teaching and educating, but that's not why I'm going to dental school. So that's why I say that little beginning part, while my ambition primarily lies in treatment. And then I continue on the sentences. So this is all about wording it in a way where they're not gonna ask themselves, so does she want to be a teacher? You know, that way I'm addressing that question that they may have. And then I use one of my personal experiences to support how, I took a step to provide preventative education now, because I don't need a license to provide that, right? I can do it as a student. And I expand on that. And lastly, the privilege to treat and educate with a flair of artistry brought my desire to pursue dentistry for full circle. And so this is key, because I am summarizing basically my whole personal statement before that. And then that's where you say the keyword solidified, because I'm at the end of my personal statement. I should have it solidified by now. Now moving on to my conclusion, I basically talk about, the shadowing, the volunteering, working, and then I say what my mission is and how that mission was inspired. So like I said, it was a lot about working in underserved communities and how that sparked an ongoing mission to reduce the healthcare disparities that I witnessed. And so from there, I talk about, very quickly, I talk about how I would want to improve dentistry. And that's by providing accessibility to dental clinics, and then increasing preventative education. Quickly, what you spoke about, like one word to remind them about what you were talking about in the first paragraph, because by the end there you sort of forgot what the first paragraph said.
One of the things that I really like is that you use keywords to kind of drive the point. So for example, you were saying like, it is spark. It kind of got you interested, and then you solidify at the end. That way you kind of explain that I'm sure that I want to be a dentist. Even though I haven't experienced it, I will follow through. And that's very important. I also like how you have a vision And so in your case, for those people that have a specific vision that you want to do with their life, don't just say like, oh, I want to do this. Like in my case, I want to work in a community health center. That doesn't need as much explanation. But in your case, because you had like a better plan, like a big plan, it was really important from your behalf that you would explain it, which I really like that.
For me, I think you had a very solid personal statement, and the reason why you got in the second time. You get what I mean? Because this was very strong in the way that you were very strategic, and I can like just from what you're explaining, it sounds like it was someone that tried before and it kind of knows their way around the process. So for me, that's how I approached the second time I wrote my personal statement. I did it in a way where I kind of like, okay, this is how I did it last time, and this is what I learned from it, but this time I'm going to do it differently in this way, and so forth. So just like from being in your shoes, like applying twice, I kind of like, I can sense when you're trying to kind of like word things specifically, purposely, to kind of like get your point across.
Yeah, I think the second time around, I sort of learned that really it was speaking from the heart and not just trying to form it in a way where it's what they want to hear. It's more about you. And this is so hard because for anyone who's trying to write their personal statement, it's so hard to think, I'm just gonna write what I think, you know, and what I feel, because you want to fit what they're trying to hear, but they don't have anything in their mind. I mean, they're gonna try to see if you're a good fit for with their mission statement, their vision, which, like I said, I did frame it in that way for those type of schools, but that I didn't make that up. That really was what I did in my experiences. So my evidence was my personal experiences of the things I did. That's why I keep reiterating, your personal experiences are your evidence that are making them believe that this is really what you want to do.
And that's why, like I said before, like whatever we had, like the beginning sections of the application process, it has the personal experiences, the extracurriculars and all that, and you have 600 characters to talk about that. So if you choose to include a couple experiences in your personal statement, just kind of like mention it, just very passively. Don't elaborate on it, because if I'm curious about that, I'm gonna go and open the rest of your file, and then I'm gonna look at it.
I do want to add one thing to that. When you said briefly mention it and don't spend a lot of time on it. For instance, when I explained Flying Samaritans, I put like a comment. I said a group who puts on medical and dental clinics in Mexico, because at the same time, you want to remind them, and it was only a few words that I used. So don't just assume that they automatically remembered. So finding that middle ground between not over explaining and not explaining at all is really, really helpful.
Okay. One of the things that I wanted to add in regards to that, I really like that you said local and international. When I was writing my essay, I had that feedback that I wanted to go back and help. And I got the question like, oh, so you want to practice in Mexico? And I'm like, well, I would like to go, but that doesn't mean I want to live there and stay there. So it's important to say that you also want to help here. So yeah, I definitely agree with that.
But overall, I think it's pretty solid. I'm gonna go ahead and read my personal statement, the one that I wrote for my very first cycle where I got rejected from all the schools that I applied to. And then I'll go ahead and read the second time where I finally got accepted. And then you will see the difference and the improvement that I made, and why I chose to just throw the first one away and then just redo a brand new personal statement. Okay, so I'm gonna read my first personal statement. When I was in the 7th grade, my mother had a severe toothache that required endodontic treatment. After the general dentist treated her tooth, my mother had recurrent toothaches and eventually visited a specialist for retreatment. The endodontist discovered a residual apical abscess from the initial treatment and recommended that the tooth be extracted due to the overwhelming pain. As my mother's translator, I accompanied her to the appointments and aided to resolve her confusion about having to visit 2 different dentists. This experience sparked my interest in dentistry because I wanted to one day administer the proper treatment to a patient like my mother. At the end of my junior year of high school, my counselor introduced me to the Regional Occupational Program, ROP, for dental assisting and encouraged me to pursue a career in the industry. My interest was reignited. I researched the dental field and came to the conclusion that the program was the wisest option for me to pursue my goal of a career in dentistry. I began the ROP course during my junior year of high school while working at a gas station so that I could assist my parents financially. After graduating from high school, I completed my externship at a dental office so that I could become a dental assistant, DA. This externship gave me an opportunity to interact with my patients by implementing what I had learned from the textbooks and mannequins on real patients. I learned to never make promises of meeting the patient's expectations, but instead do everything within my power to help them. Upon graduating from the program and obtaining my DA license, I was able to resign from my job at the gas station and begin working as a dental assistant at a general dentist office. Each day after my shift ended, I went home and opened my textbooks and notes to strengthen my understanding of procedures that I initially had not fully comprehended that day. When I began my shift the following morning, I volunteered to assist with specific procedures that I had struggled with the previous day. This process allowed me to expand my knowledge and improve my manual dexterity. My eagerness and curiosity as a dental assistant was the catalyst for obtaining my registered dental assisting RDA license within just a few months from the dental assisting program. As an RDA, I learned the importance of interprofessional collaboration that dentists must have with other professionals outside the dental field. For example, a general dentist must request a medical clearance from a pregnant patient's gynecologist or another patient's cardiologist after cardiac surgery. I have also learned the importance of interprofessional communication that dentists must have with specialists within the dental field. For example, an orthodontist might refer a patient to a general dentist to extract teeth, causing overcrowding. A lack of intra-professional communication between the dentist and the endodontist was probably what caused my mother's dental issues. Medical clearances and referrals are vital components of practicing dentistry and medicine. Thus, strong relationships among different medical personnel are crucial. As an RDA, I take it upon myself to break down barriers and communicate inter and intra-professionally. As a dentist, I will continue to uphold these principles so that my patients receive the best care possible. After graduating from community college with 2 associate degrees, I attended the University of California, Riverside, UCR, to obtain a bachelor's of science degree in neuroscience. During my head and neck neuroanatomy course at UCR, I became fascinated by how sensory modalities process different information yet work in unison to produce proper and common motor functions. These educational and professional paths have allowed me to focus on my goal of becoming a dentist. My intrinsic curiosity has also driven me to gain experience working with many dentists with various specialties. Since the day I became a dental assistant student, my goal has been to survey as many aspects of the dental field as I could. In dental school, I will be able to further develop my manual and mental dexterities, as well as my knowledge of the field. After accomplishing my primary dream of becoming a dentist, I envision myself specializing. Dental school will enable me to pursue the 2 things I love, my education and my career in dentistry, proving that my resilience and persistence will ultimately be rewarded. I would give this a C grade. So what do you guys think? So many mistakes, right?
I would say first you were too technical, as in it was too much about dentistry and little about you.
Yep.
You as a person, I should say, because it shows, yeah, you do know a lot about the field, but I think there needs to be more about who you are.
Also, we have to keep in mind, these are people that they know what they're talking about. Let's say, for example, I made a sandwich. That's like, okay, we all know what that means. And don't explain. You first put a bread, then you put a mayonnaise, then you put the ham and the lettuce, then you put another bread on top of it. That will be like, if somebody were to do it to you, you will be like, oh my God, why are you explaining something I already know? So the dentist already knows these kind of things. I would think like, it would have been better if you give those examples with actual patient cases and how that affected the patient or affected you, instead of just saying like, for example, this and that. It sounded more like a book, like a textbook book that is kind of like, very technical.
To answer what Naveen was saying and what Fernando was saying, so I felt like this was more of a showcase. And for me, like my mindset during that time was like, I'm that guy that assisted so many dentists or whatever, and I'm getting in dental school, like there's no what's or ifs about it. And you can sense it in the tone of this essay. And I even like, okay, I was bragging about how many degrees I got and which school I went to. And I'm like, now that I'm looking at it, I'm like, all that information is included somewhere else in the application. It doesn't have to be in my personal statement. So looking back at it, like these are things that I would change, and that's why I'm sharing it with you guys. What else would you guys say needs to be changed?
So actually that reminds me, during one of my interviews, we had like a case study basically where they told us the age of the patient, their symptoms, and the reason why they need help from a dentist. And then they went around and asked us what our thought process would be to helping this patient. And there was one student who definitely had a lot of experience in the dental field and went into all the details of how he would, treat it, and how he would just basically talking about all the dental things you would do as a dentist. And then there was another student who mentioned, well, first we would figure out why she or he got to this point in their, dental care. Why is it? You have to understand, their lifestyle, what caused this and such. And that showed that person was understanding of the whole person care, where they took into account their lifestyle, their economic status and such, whereas the other student just was so focused on the dental part of it. So I feel like your essay was a lot focused on just, the dentistry part of it. One thing that I think you could have really elaborated on was when you said the miscommunication between the dentist and the specialist. And then from there, you could have said, so this is one of my priorities, to always make sure that when I refer out, or if I am the specialist, that I would know that my patient is taken care of, so that mistakes like this are prevented.
So now I'm going to go over my personal statement that got me into dental school. Okay, so I can vividly recall comforting my mother as she wept. Her recurring and frequent toothaches were out of control. During my early teenage years, I watched her dental health become compromised due to an improper endodontic diagnosis and treatment that ultimately led to an unnecessary tooth extraction. That painful experience was the spark that ignited my interest in dentistry. During my senior year of high school, I enrolled in a regional occupational program for dental assistant, which was my formal introduction to the profession. Upon graduation, I earned my registered dental assisting RDA license and began performing many procedures, assisting dentists, and most importantly, helping patients improve their quality of life. Being a dental assistant for 6 years allowed me to holistically appreciate the dental field because I was determined to assist with and explore many dental specialties. Every dentist, dental office, and patient has taught me that dentistry is a diverse discipline. Additionally, I have continued to gain dental experience by volunteering with the Future Dentist Club, FDC, at UCR's Riverside Free Clinic. This unique opportunity allowed me to assist low-income families of different nationalities, most of whom only speak Spanish. At the clinic, I aim to continually improve my Spanish proficiency so that I can better communicate with my patients and their families. I strongly believe in caring for the overall well being of each individual patient, not just his or her dental health. And that mentality is what has driven my extensive experience thus far. Working as an RDA at Dentistry for Kids has been an eye opening and truly humbling experience for me. I became speechless one day when I saw a health alert note on a 2-year-old patient's chart reading born addicted to opiates. The first thing that came to mind was my neuropharmacology professor discussing endogenous and exogenous opiates in relation to analgesia and addiction. I understood the neurological pathway of how, but in that instant, I did not know the why. So she was the sweetest girl. Her politeness resonated from her grandmother's caring heart as she answered my question of why and explained her daughter's drug addiction before and after pregnancy. This experience and others like it have motivated me to better serve underprivileged children and the underserved members of low-income communities. Therefore, if having to learn a language or take an extra science class will allow me to serve my patients more efficiently, then I'm willing to accept that challenge. After high school, I started taking classes towards my bachelor's degree in neuroscience. This was only challenging because I had a poor high school science education and needed to attend community college to obtain the foundational knowledge to build upon at a university. This 6-year process of balancing education and work provided me with the time to gain an enriching education and an extensive dental experience. Earning my bachelor's degree brought me one step closer to my dream of becoming a dentist. I have learned leadership, punctuality, resourcefulness, and the ability to maintain a service-driven ethical compass, being firm but fair. My years of dental assisting experience have allowed me to serve and provide a home-like environment to the homeless, an uncompromised service to senior patients that are medically compromised. Since my last application a year ago, I have become a more mature, well-rounded person and a better prepared future dentist with a refined appreciation of patient-centered care. My personal and professional development during this gap year have taught me a lot about myself and allowed me to persevere as a student, a dental assistant, a volunteer, and most importantly, as a humanistic future clinician. Passion, persistence, and perseverance are the ability that allowed me to have a foundational knowledge in clinical dentistry. My practical hands-on knowledge and commitment for dental medicine cultivated my manual dexterity. Meanwhile, my strong communication skills and critical thinking nourished my mental dexterity and allowed me to stand out among my colleagues. Both my extensive education and my career-driven path have steered me towards a life of dental service.
Since dentistry is a surging profession of the 21st century,
I am fortunate to have realized at an early age that dentistry is my life's passion and have taken the proper steps to achieve my dream.
Mic drop.
I like it.
What do you guys think?
The story that I was like, oh my god, it was like the kid with the opioids. And I like how you not only focus on like the emotional part, but like to some extent, like you kind of like you can learn about these problems, but once you see them, you're like, I'm not ready to tackle this. And I like how you were like, that's kind of saying like you're humble, that you want to learn this, and that definitely shows. The only problem I would kind of change is, and I think is when you say like you went to community college and you're showing your weaknesses, but I think that would be more appropriate for like the disadvantage essay instead of the personal statement. But that's my personal experience, especially for me. I had to explain also why I went to community college, but I did that in the disadvantage statement. But even then, that looks good there. I just think it would have been better in the other side. Yeah.
What do you think, Naveen?
So yeah, I definitely liked it a lot more than your first one. And right now I could know which one was more interesting because I paid attention to the second one a lot more because it was more personal, as in your stories. So the whole showing, you did really well rather than telling us. The only con I would say about your personal statement that I think your viewers should know is don't get hung up on trying to show how much you know from your courses or just the terminology. Basically, use simple words and don't feel like you need to show them how much English you know, because like we said, your GPA, your DET score show that. You don't need to do that in your personal statement. So I feel like in that part, I just think it would have been better to use. Maybe it's me. Maybe I don't know all these terminology, so I'm like, it's over my head.
Now looking, like, for me, like, I really like creative writing, and I take a lot of creative liberties to kind of talk about one thing. And I like to kind of describe things very extensively. And I think that was kind of just like my own like personal tone in the essay. But now looking back at it, I haven't read this in about 2 years. I think it's too polished.
What do you mean by too polished?
It's like the words that I use is very like,
oh, very sophisticated.
Like one of my mentors always says, like, keep it simple, stupid.
Keep it simple.
It's always like it's stuck with me. Keep it simple, stupid. So from both of my personal statements and Fernandez and Naveen's, I say that we give you guys kind of an insight of how a personal statement should look like and how it should sound like and how it shouldn't sound like, being my first personal statement. And now looking back at it, there's always things that you can improve on. Being in dental school, looking back at it retrospectively, you kind of like your insight changes once you get into dental school. And once, like, after I got in dental school, I helped so many people write personal statements. And just after seeing so many weak personal statements that have potential to be stronger, and strong personal statements that are way stronger than mine, I kind of calibrated to kind of like know when a personal statement is good and when a personal statement is bad. So the admissions committee is calibrated to know when they have a personal statement in front of them that is strong and when they have one in front of them that is weak. So that's why they kind of like, there's a general consensus of what is a good personal statement. And that's what you guys should strive for. Do you guys have any closing comments?
I would just say, take everything we said as you go. This is a lot to take in, and also it's difficult, like, starting it out, but the only way I think that it gets better is by just writing first, and then you're stressed, you probably are studying for the DET or filling out your application, so have all that time on your hands. But the best way is just to literally write. The advice for those who may not be applying right now, a good tip would be to keep a journal and write down your experiences. Like when you volunteer at a clinic, write down that experience, because all those experiences are your evidence that you're going to be using for your personal statement. And then years down the line, you may not remember them. And even for those who are applying, write down your experiences, because when the interviews come, you may forget that specific experience and not be able to recall it quickly. And I got this tip from an admissions representative during a secret to admissions presentation. So I wish I had done that. Sometimes I did it, sometimes I didn't. I wasn't consistent, but try to be consistent, because it's a good way to pull from.
Just to kind of like go off of what we said in the previous presentation, part 1 is be the center of attention and own it. And these are the things that we went over. All right, do you have anything to add, Fernando?
All I'm gonna say is don't feel discouraged. A lot of people try to have the first draft by the first time, and they want it to be that the last one. And if you start to feel like, oh no, that's okay, leave it for a couple of days and then come back. A lot of times when you keep seeing the same things, you think you kind of like overfill what is not written, and it might not be understood by somebody else. So always, that's the reason we tell you to do multiple drafts, because in that way you will be able to see if it is efficient, if it communicates well, and you will be able to pick up on your mistakes. So multiple drafts is the way to go. I did maybe 30 drafts. I don't know. I lost the count.
I think I did about 40 about 30 or 40. Just make sure that you have as many eyes look at your personal statement as possible. And it's always good to write more and trim. Being a neuroscience major and all that, we have a process called pruning, which is basically kind of trimming or cutting down. And I always tell dental applicants that when you're trying to do your personal statement, always write more and then go around and just kind of trim around the edges and make sure that your final product is kind of like diamond shade, perfect in every way possible. All right, so this is something that I recommend you guys do. So go under your application, under check status, and go ahead and download your application, because at the end of the day, you're going to get a PDF file that has about 30 or 40 pages of everything that you have, and this is what your personal statement box or section would look like. So best of luck, and remember to pay it forward. This has been a pleasure making these videos for you guys, and honestly, I don't want anything in return. I just want you guys to spread the message and just make sure that people see this video if they need it, because I think it takes a lot of time to make these videos, and we are dental students, so we have a lot of our own classes that we're taking care of, and this is just a side project that we felt obligated to produce and to put forward for the people applying this cycle, 2020 and 2021, and future cycles as well. Me and Fernanda have a lot of mutual friends in common, and she's from Arizona, and kind of like we flip-flopped, we switched. She went to California and I came to Arizona, and I think it's pretty funny just how things turn out to be and where you chose to go and all that. It's everything will work out at the end, and just be positive and have a positive outlook on life.
I will say that the reason I wanted to do this is because it was really hard for me to find help and quality help. The internet doesn't have that many videos and doesn't have as much advice. The Student Doctor Network, take it with a very light grain of salt. A lot of people, the stuff that they put in there is not accurate and is very mean. And to some extent, they're trying to troll other people out. So don't do that. And so for that reason, I wanted to do this, so you can have a clear way of doing this. And I also have bad experiences of people that tried to advise me, but to be honest, they were more discouraging. So we hope we got the opposite effect on you. So good luck. You will do great.
Yeah, for me, it was definitely because a lot of people actually did help me. Students that I knew, even like students who got into medical school or other pre-health programs. It doesn't actually have to be just dental school, because it's the same type of application process in the way you write your personal statement, just a different type of career. And another reason why I'd like to pay it forward is because when I was doing it, a lot of people really were trying to do it for free, and I went ahead and sort of invited them for coffee. And that's not that we're asking you to do this, but I think if you do have that help from other people, it's always nice, because you want to continue that relationship down the line. It's not just that they review your personal statement and you're done with them, because they're probably going to be your colleague in the future. You never know where you're going to, connect with them again. So for me, I honestly just like this. I needed help with preparing for the interview at AT Still, and I reached out to Sameh. He just gave me some tips, and I honestly thought it was gonna be like a one-time thing, and he would give me his tips and kind of say, all right, good luck. Because a lot of people do that. They don't have the time to really help you out, but instead he was so helpful. He kept reassuring me about the things he wanted to give me tips on, followed up with me, and then on the day of the interview also, you know, like told me, where are you staying, how are you getting to Arizona and such. And that was so sweet, because not a lot of people do that, like I said, and it's really going out of your way to do that, because I didn't know him. I'm a stranger to him, but now, you know, like I consider him one of my really good friends, and I don't know where the future will lead, but at the same time, this is what I'm talking about. It's growing your network. So right now he helped me, but I'm gonna return, obviously, the favor.
Like any other pre-dental student, whenever I meet them, and I see potential in a lot of pre-dents that I meet, but some of them stand out more than other, and just kind of like it's just their character. I told her, and I'm like, if I help you, hopefully you choose to pay it forward. And I always give them that kind of option, just to kind of like plant the seed. And I'm like, once you get into dental school, I might reach out to you, and I might have you help someone else. I'm trying my best to be there for other people, but I'm not gonna always be there. But she kept her word, and here she is. So thank you.
Of course.
That's amazing.
So Q&A is going to be in the comment sections down below, and I'm available all over social media, literally. If you guys have any questions, don't be shy. Reach out to me. I'm willing to help you guys, and I just expect you to pay it forward, help someone else that needs help, and see you in the next video. Thank you guys. Bye.
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 There's so much strength in you and me. Power